Welcome to my Power Talk. If you get easily offended, this show is definitely not for you.
Hey guys, what is going on? Welcome back to another Power Talk. So today I have the amazing experience to interview someone that is extremely, extremely special in my life. I don't know if you guys that come from other countries or when you are young and you find this person, whether it's a man or a woman in your life that actually can come and motivate you and change you and guide you and give you all these amazing things that life has to offer. If you have been lucky enough, like I have, like my sons actually have as well, I happen to be with someone here that is, once again, extremely special to me. Someone who I say is my American father, the someone that became my dad, someone that became the person that I listened to, the person that helped me out when I needed it the most, someone that was just in all the truth, someone who honestly did the same thing my dad was doing, and actually, and I'm not gonna lie, actually guide me in better ways and motivated me and supported me in things that even my own family didn't support me with. And so, everybody, please meet Kenneth Grasso, or as I like to call him, Kenny. Kenny, welcome to the show, brother.
Thank you, man.
My
Thanks
pleasure,
for
brother.
having me. That's kind words you said about me, and I thank you for that.
My pleasure, dude. My pleasure. All right, so we're gonna talk a lot about the things that we have going on. One of those things is how we met, how this guy was so lucky. No, I'm kidding. How I was so lucky to meet this guy when I think I was 18,
Yeah, I
19,
would say
somewhere
so.
around
Yeah,
that time.
yeah.
You know, it's been a long time, guys. It's been a long time. And all I can tell you is that in that long time, one of the things that I realize as the time has passed is how much having the right person in your life can actually change your life, can change the way you think, the way you do things, how you do things in general. And to me was everything that, like I say, when I first met Kenny, we met in a martial arts school. I was actually his instructor. All right. And then outside the place, he was my boss. It was a very strange relationship because anytime he'll mess with me at work, I made him pay in the martial arts school, and every time I did something he didn't want to train with, he'll make me pay at work. It was just one of those. But let's just talk about that. So I am at the martial arts school. Kenny's coming with a couple of his friends, and then I'm there, and I was training for the Olympics. Right, I wanted to train for the Olympics,
Yeah.
and this guy says, "Look, I know your schedule is kind of busy, but I have a job, and I would like to give you this job, and I'll work with your hours. You can come at a certain time, and then you can leave at a certain time, so I can go back and continue training." And this is how we first met, and it was just like a gift from heaven, someone that I'm like, this guy understands me and he wants to help me out. And not everybody can do that for you. Not everybody's gonna be like, all right, well, the hours are from this time to this time, and if you cannot meet those hours, then you cannot work for me. He actually, he made it work for me. He helped me out just by doing that little bit in the very beginning of our friendship, I guess. So let's talk about it.
Yeah, well, you got to kind of rewind a little bit there because it was only because of someone that we both knew that I even
Correct.
got to know who you were, and that was, of course, Dr. Heitzner, Larry Heitzner.
That's right.
It was Larry that had approached me and had said that he knew a young man that was trying to get himself ahead in life, and did I think that I had a position possibly for him? And I said, yeah, sure. Tell me about him. And so he told me about you. And so when I came up to that martial arts studio, that the day that I actually met you, I see this little man, little guy there with the little blue belt on.
The greatest thing ever happened to this guy is when he met me.
He had that little.
Tell them all about
He
it.
had that little blue belt on. I remember that. He had that blue belt on, and I believe that I was the type of person that liked to do what I could to help people as much as I could help them.
And you did.
For what I did in my trade, or maybe people that I might have known. But I thought that you would do really well, especially when I first got to talk to you about. I was so impressed about how you would focus your mind. And that was important to me because I saw you, and we talked about this many a time, where you sat in that on the floor there and you had your little pad and you were writing down all of these notes. And I said, what is this guy doing? And to see how you were putting together what your future was going to be.
Almost like a business plan, right?
Well, you had a business plan. It was a business plan, and you were designing, you were writing about certain things, and you were drawing certain things, and it was very impressive to me because I saw how your mind was working, and it made me realize that people of that kind of intuition to move further on with their life was somebody that I would want to have in my business that cared enough to focus his energy also in the vein that he had at the dojang to put it into business form, and you had that. And you had a goal. You set a goal for yourself, and no matter what goal you ever set, I always saw you achieve it. And that's why I would always want to go to the next level with you because whatever it was that you felt that you were capable of doing, you were going to achieve. And that made me feel good because I knew that if there was something that you would achieve in a goal that I might have set, that you would work hard at doing that as well. So it
Well,
was a great partnership.
all I can tell you, it became more than a partnership or whatever. Like I said, we had some amazing, amazing experiences together. I mean, oh, God, can't even know where to start, guys. I mean,
We
it's
had
been a
lot.
lifetime. It really
We
is.
did have some fun together.
You
That's
know, and
for
the one
sure.
thing I can tell you guys is, and most people, a lot of people that know me know this part of my life. But so when my dad left Colombia when I was 10 months old, and my dad only came to Colombia one time a year for a month. So by the time I came to America, I was 15, almost turning 16, but I only seen my dad 1 month every year. So how much did I really knew my dad? I only knew him for like 18 months, if you really think about it. Think about it. Every year for just 30 days, 15 years later. So literally, we're talking about less than a year and a half. And I loved my dad. I really did. I thought he was a very special man. I thought he was a very unique person. I learned quite a lot from him and the way I knew of him and the way my aunts and my uncles would describe my dad. And so that was a key thing in my life. But I also know that when I met Kenny a couple of years later, my life changed. I spent so much time with this guy right here. I mean, we literally work together. We train together. We'll do trips together. Like I remember going to the beach one time. I went to this beach early in the morning, and I didn't want to go because it was super early in the morning. I'm like, man, I don't want to wake up early in the morning. But honestly, I can still to this day can tell you how amazing, how exciting that trip
It was a
was,
great trip.
or it became, because we're all tired. We're all driving there. We wanted to train by the time that the sunlight came out. We really wanted to be there by see the sunlight come out, while we at the beach. And so we had to get there extremely early. So we left extremely early as well. And I can tell you that we still, each of us still have the picture of all of us training together. And we did this nice post. And I can tell you that it's one of those things that you don't know what you have, or you don't know how something it becomes so amazing, or how much you can treasure a specific moment in your life until many, many years later. And you come across that picture and you're like, man, oh my God, it's incredible. So I heard someone saying not too long ago, saying, is this guy that I follow, Alex Hormozy, and he was saying, and now for most of you that know him, this guy makes about $100 million a year, and it's incredible that he went from someone who had a gym and blah blah blah, did a lot of amazing things, and now he's worth that much money. But he said something the other day that it made me thinking about the things that we're talking about right now. How sometimes you could be here with your friends, and as he said, I was there about 15 years ago, broke as shit, not having all this money, hanging out with my friends, and having this greatest time of the world in the world, and thinking about what I'm gonna do in the future, whatever. And he says, and that was the last time that he actually was with all those guys at that time. And now that he's a multimillionaire, he says, I will do anything to be back at that moment and enjoy it, but understanding that that was going to be my last time. And so what happens is sometimes we could be doing something where we don't know it could be the last time. and I'm not saying that we're gonna die. I'm saying maybe it's the last time that you and the amount of people that are with you in that precise moment. Maybe it's the last time that you guys can all be together at that moment. Maybe in the future you see few of them and the other few of them, but that moment, that special moment of all of us that day being together, I don't think we ever did it again.
No, we didn't. And again, that was all started by none other than Larry Heitzner.
Right.
It was the same thing. He approached all of us to do that.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
And those are special moments in one's life. Those are quality moments.
Correct.
Those are the moments that you need to cherish, because, like you said, your friend that was explaining to you what, although he became this millionaire, what was more important to him was to be back at that moment with his friends.
With his friends, yeah.
When he was
Broke,
not a
pretty much.
financial
Right, exactly.
independence, and it's so important that we all have mentors. It's so important that we all understand what life is really all about. It's so important that we take those cherished moments and keep them in that treasure chest of ours that we have, per se. That it's a way that life goes on, legacies go on, and it's important. It's important
100%,
to like you said about that picture. That picture is one of the only pictures that I always know where it is.
Yeah.
It's one of those things because it was a memory.
Right.
It's like when when I was doing really well in my businesses, I did something for my mother one year, and I took a little jar, a candy jar, and I made her what they call a memory jar. And I took little pieces of paper, and I wrote little messages about the things that I remembered that she did for me growing up, from being a small boy into even my adolescence, into becoming a young man, and all these little things
Right.
that I remembered about her. And
That's crazy. That's
the
amazing.
last day of her life, I was sitting on her bed at a bedside and holding her hand, and we talked about that specific jar
Yeah.
and the memories that were in there, and how that it was one of, if not the most important gift she ever got from me. And we were able to share all of those things, and it was worth its weight in gold to be able to spend that time. And I'm talking about spending time from 9 o'clock in the morning till 10 o'clock at night,
Right.
just talking about
Right.
those things.
Right.
And those are the treasured moments of our lives that you hope that go on. And
I just think the hardest part with this is when you live in that moment, when you're there with your friends or your family or someone that you care for. We don't know that could be the last moment.
that's true.
And so I think that's where most of us fail to appreciate the moment. Literally, it's a gift. You're there with your friends, but you don't know. I mean, anything can happen at any given moment. You could be at 1 minute here, and God forbids that hopefully this doesn't happen to us, but we could be driving home and we get hit by a car, and and this is the things that sometimes, we don't know. And so I think appreciating
Very
the
true.
moment, and it's just actually very, very important because we just don't know when that last moment could be. Anyways, we're going to talk about so many things, so many different things that Kenny and I have gone through with each other. We have been, like I say, I was about 18 years old. I'm 53 years old now, so do the math. How long have I seen him? How long have I met him? How long have I been influenced by him? And so what I was trying to say to you guys before is, as much as I loved my dad, I was only influenced by him for about a year and a half, if you put it all together. Because when I came into this country, I lived in my house. I was turning 16 a couple of months after I came to America. And by the time I was 18, I left my house. And so all together, obviously I continue talking to my father and whatever. But what I'm saying is, like, the amount of time that I know Kenny, the amount of time that we spent together, the amount of time that we talked, the amount of time that he helped me in many ways, the amount of times that we shared amazing moments. Kenny comes from a family of only females. And I remember as a young kid telling him, I said, "You're so lucky I'm in your life because I'm like the only son you'll ever have." And I remember saying this to him all the time, like, "You should love me and treasure me because you're never going to have another son like me." And it was just like, that was the joke that we had going on. And one of the things that I can tell you about Kenny, and I don't know if I ever told Kenny this, but today you're going to find out.
All right.
There was many times I had to leave early or at the time I was supposed to leave. And we're going to talk about his business because we're going to talk about that as well. So we got a lot of little things to talk about that are going to be very amazing and for hopefully try to motivate some of you guys at home. But we'll get into that in a minute. So let me tell you the story first. And so in the story, well, this is the truth. There was times where I had to leave at a certain time because I had a team of people waiting for me to train. We're training for the Olympics now, and he knew at a certain time I had to leave. But he was strong enough that times when I had to leave, I would look at him and say, I have to go. And he says, no, you have to finish the job. And at that time, I would be extremely angry at him because he hired me with the intention to let me go at a certain time. But at the same time, he also had a business to run. And I think at the end of the day, by saying, you got to finish this before you can go home, served me for two reasons. One, he taught me to be responsible and finish the shit that I started in the sense of like, he had an amazing place called Auto Express, and it was one of those places where they change your oil in 10 minutes or less, correct?
Yep.
And so, how do I live in the middle of changing an oil? He says, finish it and then you can go. But those extra minutes will make me late in the next activity. And it was just one of those situations where he didn't always do this to me, but every so often he would. And at that moment, I would be angry at him. But then now I look back and I says, he was making a man out of me. He was teaching me, hey, finish the shit you started pretty much. Finish what you said you were going to do and then deal with the next situation. And also more than a boss at that time, he was also being my father. He was teaching me the proper way to do things. And so I just remember at that moment being so angry at him, being angry at the fact that, why wouldn't you let me go? This was the deal that we worked on, but not understanding the real lesson behind it. And now, obviously, as you get older, it's almost like when you train your kids. In the beginning, they don't understand where you come from, why you don't want to buy the expensive stuff, or why you don't want to give them. It's not because you don't have the money. It's because it's not necessary. And sometimes you gotta, even if you have all the money in the world, it's okay to tell your kids sometimes, no, you can't have it. And so that to me was a big lesson from him, understanding that. It's just so many little different lessons that I learned from him. And again, that at that moment, it's almost like when a parent says you cannot go outside and play for 30 minutes. Like you can. For no reason. They don't even give you the reason why. You're just angry about it. So I felt the same way towards him at that moment, saying, why wouldn't you just let me go? Get somebody else that's here. It was a big team of people that worked for him. Why wouldn't you just say, hey, you cover, Al's spot because he has to go. But he will let me finish. He will make me finish. And little things like that. And then what would I do in return? Because I was a child, even though I was 18, and even though, as he said, I had a really good, strong mentality when it came to building a business and what I wanted to do. So at that time, Kenny used to smoke a lot. And then so he says to me, he says, do me a favor, can you go across the street and give me a pack of cigarettes? I said, sure. At first I said, no, I'm not buying that shit, because I loved him. I really did. And I said, I'm not buying that shit, whatever, but he's my boss. So what am I supposed to do? He says, you're going to buy it for me. I need you just to do it for me because you'll be busy in the office. So I will go. And on the way back, I'll grab that pack of cigarettes and I'll squeeze the shit out of it. I'll literally squeeze it like this because I'm like, I don't want me to smoke this stuff. But that was my way of kind of like saying, like paying back to him for the night before when he let me go home early or go to train early. It was just like this thing that we have. Like I say, it was just things that you do when you're young, having somebody much more, mature in your life and someone that's truly trying to help you out and teaching you the proper way to do things.
It's no different. It's no different than the child that you were talking about, growing up and you're teaching responsibility and they're thorns in your side. And it's just part of the growing up phase. Right. But it's so very important to teach respect and honor and to know that you have responsibility and to go to the next level. You have to make sure that becomes second nature to an individual. If you can buy wonderful things for your children, are we spoiling them to a point where they don't learn responsibility?
Correct.
That they don't learn respect? All of those things come into play. And as you move on in your life, you kind of like to circle yourself around people that take those responsibilities seriously. And with you, if I had to put it into the amount of people that worked for me in my lifetime, it would be 1 in 100. You're a diamond. You were a diamond gem at that point. You were.
Thank you.
You were, and there's only couple few people that I had in all of the years that I was in my own business that I could really say that about. Look at the relationship that we've had over the years. There are times that we didn't speak to each other for 5 years
Oh my
because we were
God.
doing our own things.
Right, of
And
course.
but when we did pick up the phone,
It's like
eventually
we
to
just
talk,
talked 2 days ago.
that's
It's
the way,
amazing.
and that's when you know
Yeah.
that it's really love,
Yeah.
and it's about relationships, and it's about what I've done for you and what you've done for me, and how you put it all together, and just being here today is an example of
An
a close
amazing
bond
relationship. Yeah,
that we might
100%.
have, whether to the positive or even to the negative side, because I know in my lifetime that anything that you speak to me about,
Right.
that it's coming from your heart.
Right.
I know it is. I know you joke around a lot, but I do know that anything that you discuss with me it's true to your heart.
Of course.
And that's a special moment.
Yeah.
Those are the special times in one's life.
Yeah.
Those are the
Absolutely,
things
dude.
that you have to. You talk about legacies. You talk about what you want to happen in your future. It's those things. If you become a success in your business, I'd like to take a little bit of a fraction
Just a little
of
bit?
that. Yeah, I don't have to take a lot, but it's part
a little
of
bit.
it's part of who you were, though.
Yeah.
I couldn't have done what my thought was in helping Larry Heitzner, because I remember I didn't know you, so
Correct.
I'm helping Larry Heitzner because of what he did for me in my lifetime.
Right.
See, it's just like
It's just yep.
pay it forward type of thing. But
Sure.
once you get to meet someone that has the qualifications that I call them, qualifications of being a human being and being a person that has respect and honor, it was easy. It was easy to bring you on.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Kenny.
And it was easy because although I never understood what you were saying, a lot of
Yes,
things.
for some reason he
Yeah.
always makes fun of my accent.
But it would be like almost like yeah. So a lot of the things you might be giving me credit for, it's only because I
didn't
said
understand.
I didn't understand the language. No, I'm only kidding. No, you're
That's another
special.
thing between the two of us.
You've
We
been
are
a-
always literally goofing with each other. It
Yeah,
just
you've
never
been-
ends, It's just again, it's a true relationship of two people that just like I say. Did I know I was gonna meet him in my life? No. Was he one of the most
That's the
important
beauty
people
of
in
it.
my life? Right. It's just like God puts people in a special place, and He has a reason why He's doing it. And
Yeah.
all I can tell you guys is, I am very lucky that I met him seriously, and I'm not saying that because he's here. Well, maybe. No, I'm kidding. No, I'm not saying that because he's here. But he knows how I feel towards him. I've been open enough. I'm not one of those guys that shies away when it's time to tell
Yeah.
people how important they are in their lives. I just want everybody that at the end, anyone that meant the world to me or anyone that's important in my life, I wanted that if I was to go first, that they knew that about me, that how much they meant to me. I don't want to be like that guy said, man, I wish I would have told such and such how much I truly loved them or how much they really meant for me or how much they really helped me in my life. Like every single person in my life knows that. Anyone that I have opened up and say, you are important to me is I wanted to know this while I'm alive. I don't want this after I'm dead or I left the book saying, by the way, tell Kenny that he meant the world to me. He was so important. Like, no, I want to tell him. I want him to hear it from me. You know?
And it is right what you say, because you never know what's going to happen to one. It happened to me with my uncle working for me. My uncle Jitz loved him dearly. He was like a father to me, and he was working at my business. And he was another person that I tried to really help dearly. He had been in a situation where he had been working for a company for quite a number of years, and his company was bought out, and end result, I could not see him working for the new people that were employing him. They cut his salary to the extreme.
They do that quite a lot.
Yeah, and
to
he
be
couldn't
honest. A lot of people.
survive, and I had to help him. And I knew what he was all about. I knew there was not even a question about his respect and loyalty and who he was as a person. and it was a no-brainer for me, and I was the one gaining from it. Just like when you came to work for me, I was the one gaining from it.
Right.
Yeah, I was.
At one point, you do gain more from one
Yeah,
person.
and I was
absolutely.
gaining from it. And my uncle loved him dearly. He nurtured me through my periods of my mother and father's divorce, and he was always there to be a father image for me. And I know how important that is for a young man to
Have a mentor, to have
a
somebody
mentor.
important in your life,
Another
absolutely.
one person that you can say is, at some people is a replacement for their father, or just a mentor that makes a difference, a big
Correct.
brother, if you will.
Right.
And my uncle one day came to work, and it was 7 o'clock in the morning, and he came into my office, and we had been talking, and he looked really good that specific morning. And so we come walking out of my office quickly, and we were going to get things started to open up the door, and he turned around as I'm walking up the stairs. There was a little set of stairs. Remember those little stairs going out into the shop area?
Yeah.
So we were walking up those stairs, and he just kind of turned around to me, and he said, "Kenny, I'm dizzy." And I thought, jokingly, he was saying to me like, "Dizzy," and my response back to him was, "Yeah, you are dizzy," joking around like you are dizzy, and he just went stiff as a board and went backwards, and he died. He just
Jesus
had
Christ.
massive heart attack, and
Just like that, huh?
yeah, and the worst part of that was he. There were so many things that I wanted to tell him. I used to tell him a lot of things, but there were more things that
That you
should
wanted,
have,
could have, right.
and that I didn't. And those are the times, and it was the responsibility that was laid on me that day with having to speak to my aunt and to my cousins about come to the hospital. He was already gone at that point, but to face that as well. So it was. So it's very important in what you just said a moment ago, and that is that you never know when it's your last day, when the Lord's going to take you, and I have always been, and I will always continue to be the type of person that I'm just grateful to not even so much introduce what we're about to introduce. Just to be with you is more important to me.
Thank you.
And because, like you said, I could leave here, or you could leave here, and
not see each other
it's the
again,
time.
right?
It's
Yeah.
time for
We don't
God's
know.
calling, and it just happens. And you go through that rough times, but
Well, I think overall, like I said, what we're trying to say is, and honestly, is one of the things I can tell people all the time. Tell them how you feel towards them. I know everybody waits, and I think people feel like, they find it corny, I guess, or they don't want to say it, or it's hard. I think the best thing you can do to anyone that you care for is just say it.
I am so proud of you. I really am. You achieved the American dream. I got the American dream, but it was, and we'll talk about that, but it was like, not that it was expected of me, but it was easier for me. Okay, it was easier for me because here you come to this country, you don't know how to speak English.
No.
You don't know what you're involved in. You don't have a friend. You've got some family members, but you're in a brand new world.
Yeah.
And not only did you overcome that, which is enough to overcome, you went a step further. And a step further was setting goals. But you went a step further than that. You not only achieved the goals, you don't boast about it either. And that's a quality that is not taught. It's a quality that you have inside. And those are the things that are more important in life than anything else. More than money, more than anything you can acquire on the materialistic side. What we're made of, the compassion that we have for other human beings, the things that come natural to us, the emotional side of us, all of the different emotions that we have as people in general, is what our treasures are. And if we can get them down into the work area or into a writing or into anything that brings that to make other people, even if it's that one person, even if it's to make them feel that everything's going to be okay,
Right.
then you've done your job.
So true.
Yeah, and
I really appreciate it.
and that's the
Thank you so
quality that
much.
you do
Thank
have.
you.
And look, listen, look. I see all the people that are here. You know, you've changed a lot of lives here.
I tried.
You've
You
done
know
a
what?
lot.
It's funny because when I was a little kid, um, we used to go to church quite a lot, actually. And I remember the priest saying the following words. He says, "If what we do while we're alive can help someone, can change someone to do better, to possibly when life ends, if you believe in, in certain religions, that you change someone to do better and that person can actually go to heaven. It's almost like you just saved yourself. It's almost like you, by helping someone else, helped yourself to also be part of that kingdom, I guess. And in life, I've always believed, and I know a lot of you that are watching this podcast right now, you have witnessed that. But I did it because of the many people that have helped me quite a lot. People like Kenny, people that care for me, and again, not knowing me from anything, just meeting someone young and, like he says, with a purpose in his heart, and just by looking at me, he had some sort of faith and belief in me to say, this is a good kid, and I'm gonna help him out with the best he could. But I believe very strongly that when I help people through, in my case, with martial arts and fitness, I feel like when I help somebody live a little longer or live a better life, is there a proof that you can live longer by exercising? Supposedly there is. There is proof that for every hour you work out, it's almost like you extended your life an extra, couple more hours. There's all this proof about how you enhance one thing and it helps you go a little longer. But let's pretend there was no proof. Let's pretend that that's a bunch of shit. Let's pretend that that's not true. I feel that when I help somebody, let's say somebody's going to live to 65, 75, or 85, let's pretend that what I do for fitness or martial arts or just to teach you how to be healthy, let's pretend that that doesn't extend not even 1 minute of your life. I do believe very strongly that when you get to that final moment, at least you were able to get to that moment a lot better, cleaner. Where most people, let's say my father died at almost 92 years old, but the last, I would say, 12 to 15 years before he got to almost 95 were nothing, was garbage. It was not a quality of living. So if I could have helped my dad live to 92 in good shape and die at that moment, I'm like, man, I did such an amazing job. Versus he literally, for me, died at the age of like 80. And the last 12 years was a lot being in the hospital, going through surgeries, like all the stuff that happens when someone really don't take care of themselves. And that happened to my father. And so when I help people and when I try to help other people to do better, whether I extend the quality of your life for longer, or maybe you just live to wherever you're supposed to live, I do know one thing, that if I can get you there cleaner, healthier, and not having to suffer the last 15, 10, 5 years of your life, and you were able to get really, really close to that moment, that I think I did my job as well. And so I just feel very strongly that what I do, what I try to do with the knowledge that I have, goes beyond that. And like I say, a lot of you guys have joined our business, our gyms, our martial arts, and a lot of you were given the opportunity to do it for free, to say, join us. Come and check it out for 2 or 3 months. Do it for free. See if you like it. And if you do like it, then join us. Be part of our club. Be part of an amazing community. And we have had many people that joined, couldn't continue, whether it was financial, they couldn't afford it, or distance wise, maybe it was too far, but they took advantage of the opportunity that was given. Now, one time I was angry at the fact that they didn't join us and became part of the club and helped us continue doing what we do. I believe very strongly that when God gives you, He can give you through so many different ways. I could be helped. Well, Kenny helped me, right? Let's put that as an example. He helped me, but because I was able to do what I wanted to do in my life and become what I wanted to do, which was follow a martial arts career and then eventually a fitness career, because of the help that he allowed me to continue and do the things I wanted, I'm able to help other people. So a lot of this help also comes from him by allowing me to follow my purpose in life.
nice
If
of you to
someone
say.
like him would have helped me, I would end up in a different place. I would have done stupid shit because you know what? I remember at that time, a couple of years after I met him, you know, I had my first child. You know, I had my first child at the age of 20, 21 actually. You know, so you know, she got pregnant I was 20. He was born obviously by the time I'm 21. Blah blah blah. So think about someone who's 21 years old. You know, life is difficult, guys. And if I wouldn't have had the right people, the right mentor in my life, you know, like most people, unfortunately, there's a lot of people in jail right now that wish they never did it, but they had no option. They didn't have a good mentor. They didn't have a good person in their life helping them and guiding them and showing them that there is a better way. You just gotta be patient. You gotta pay the price. And the price sometimes is you gotta work really, really hard for a long time before you can start seeing, you know, the fruits of what's ahead of you. And so a lot of people they don't see that. I did, and I knew it was just a matter of time. I just had to stay, you know, I just had to stay put. But a lot of people don't see that. And again, everything that I do is also I can also thank the people that helped me get there so I can help all those people. You know, so talking about how one person can help another person and having the right mentor in your life is so important. Well, for me, like I say, once again, I'm going to keep saying it because he was that person for me.
No, I
know?
appreciate that, Alan. You know, and to piggyback off of something that you said just a little while ago, and that is about, you know, when your father wish certain things had happened a different way in your relationship with your father. But one of the things that you brought up is where we hopefully wind up when it's our time. And the only thing I'll say about that is that, you know, God is good. He's love and he's good. And it's up to us as individuals. We set our own destination. If we ask for forgiveness of our sins, that we want to be with the Lord, and that's what the Lord is only saying, is that that you believe in Him, believe in the resurrection, you know, in a religious
way, right?
yeah,
right.
in those ways. If you believe in that and you ask for the Lord's forgiveness, you will go to heaven. Your salvation will be there. So, in your direction with your dad, maybe you didn't realize that by you maybe being there at the end for him
Right.
was his way of understanding what he needed to do. And hopefully he did the right thing for himself, and learning through you also, and you know, vice versa. But I believe that as long as they're good people, that they're in a
Absolutely. 100%.
different place and a much better place.
We're going to switch the conversation a little bit
Yeah.
now to something else. So we talked a lot about how we met, and believe me, we didn't even touch the tip of the iceberg. I'm telling you right now, the amount of training we did. I mean, it was fun. Training, sweating.
great times, didn't
Oh
we?
my God, it's insane because we're talking about a whole life of training,
Hey,
and
listen,
you
man,
know,
you saw
it's
my kids grow up. I saw
yeah.
your
My
children
kids,
grow
yeah,
up
absolutely.
a little bit here and there, and
oh my God, like, I can tell you guys that, like I said, we haven't even touched really the
there were
tip
so
of the
many
iceberg.
things
So
that
many
happened.
things, so many adventures, so many things that we did together. So the training, I mean, the training alone, we used to train so much. We would train at the martial arts school. Then I would go to his house. He set up in the basement of his house, beautiful place, set it out so we can train down there. Oh my, I used to go to your place, I think once or twice a week.
Yeah.
I mean, just like this tight friendship that we had between the two of us. It was just crazy, just
And
how life
I
is.
learned a tremendous amount from you as far as martial arts aspect went, and to be around, you know, the young guys, meaning you and some
other
of the
guys,
other
yeah,
guys
yeah.
that were there. You know, you realize, you say to yourself, wow, you know, you're 30 years older than these people, or you're 20 years older than this one, or what. But there was a camaraderie,
Right.
what's the proper word?
Friendship, yeah, like
there was
the-
a friendship, a
it was an
special
amazing
friendship. There was
yeah.
a special feeling that you felt
Right.
that you were supposed to be there
Right.
at
Right.
that moment.
Right.
And there were good friendships that came from that.
Correct.
And someone said to me a long time ago that when it's your time to go, if you were able to count on
5
your
people?
one
Is it
hand
5? Yeah.
about the amount of friends that you have in life, you were doing really well.
Right.
Well, I'm blessed, I think, because I can count 6,
You can.
or I can count 7.
Oh, that's
you
crazy.
know.
Yeah,
But
so
you were
I heard
certainly
the
in
same
that
thing.
group.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it,
You
and
know?
so are you as well. But I agree, and I have heard that same thing. If you can count
It's the
in
truth.
one thing, one hand, if you had that many friends by the time you died, like we're talking about friends, like people that you know you can rely on, you die rich. And
Yeah,
so
I'm
the
not
fact that
talking
you got
about the
7,
acquaintance.
no,
and
no, no,
I'm
no, no,
talking
of
about the
course.
real person that's there for you no matter what.
No matter what, yeah, and that's
know?
very hard. And honestly, guys, do the count. How many of those people can you really count on that you know, no matter what, if it came to that moment, will they be there for you? And honestly, I think you're gonna have fingers left in your hand.
Yeah, and I think you don't really even get a really good understanding about that
Right.
until you get older.
Right.
Nobody's even thinking about that when
No,
you're young.
no.
It's when you start to get a little older and you start to realize, wow,
How many
true
friends do I really have? How many have been
Yeah.
there when I needed them or
Yeah,
whatever?
exactly.
Whatever, absolutely,
Yeah, yeah.
100%. All right, guys, we're gonna talk about something else because we're gonna be talking a little bit of everything. So we talked about how we met and this amazing story that we both have together. We're gonna be talking about business a little bit because Mr. Kenny here actually had one of the most successful businesses at one point here in Rockland County. So we're gonna talk about that in a minute, and then we're gonna talk about from that what he did, blah blah blah. Obviously, he's retired. Thank God he's retired, and now he decided to start writing books. So we're gonna be talking about the book that he currently has out there in Amazon. You guys can purchase it, and so all you gotta do is just click the link below. It's gonna be in our YouTube channel. So you just click the link below. It'll take you straight into buying the book. But we're gonna talk about that as well, and talking about future books that this man has decided to start writing about. All right, so well, stay tuned because we're gonna be talking about that very soon. So now we're gonna be talking about a business that Kenny used to own back in the days. That's how I met him. And so the name of the business was Auto Express, right? And so Auto Express was one of those oil changing places. It started as an oil change. We did more than that, but it starts an oil changing place where you go there, you will change. He will change the oil in your car, check all the fluids, literally like get you in and out in 10 minutes. From the moment the car entered the premise, obviously, not from the moment the car is outside. So as soon as that car entered the premise, right, correct? Then we had 10 minutes to do everything. Change the oil, change the filter, check all your fluids, fill everything up, check your transmission, make sure that everything in your car was in good condition. If there was all the problems that we noticed that the car had, then we will let him know, or he will let me know. At one point, actually, I was doing better. I wasn't just changing the oil. I was actually talking a lot through the clients. Even though my English was still very bad, I thought I was a good salesperson. I mean, I was able to communicate. And so that helped me get out of the hole, get it out of from changing the oil into being upstairs and be able to actually talk to people. And so one of the things that I had at that time that actually helped me out a lot was the fact that I spoke Spanish. So a lot of the people that came that spoke Spanish, I was able to communicate with them very well. But the whole thing was about changing oils in 10 minutes and in and out. And it was an amazing business. And Kenny, I believe, was the first one or one of the very few people that started that type of business here in the East Coast. So from someone that owned that kind of business, which was amazing, let's hear about it. So tell me,
Sure.
what made you open that business? Like, what was the reason why you opened? How did you come up with the idea, or did you see the idea and you said that's something I can do? How did Auto Express start?
How did I come up with that
Yeah.
concept? I was working as a service manager for a Pontiac store, and the things that I always heard from the consumer was, why did they have to make an appointment to have an oil change done? Why did they have to leave the car there all day at the car dealership?
Still to
or
this
even
days
at a
like
repair
that.
shop?
He's still to this days like that. Go
Yeah,
on.
so it was one of the technicians that was working on the import side of the business, because he had 2 different franchises under this one roof. And he was the gentleman that came to me and said to me, "Hey, Ken, I heard about an ad on a radio, and it was about a company called Auto Spa that was trying to come into the area to institute a franchise with this kind of a concept. I never forgot the gentleman that initially talked to me about it, that I would work with, and when I was at the Pontiac and Import store. I'll tell you about him down a little bit on in the conversation here. But I realized, I said to myself, wow, that's a great concept. And they were only really known, these fast lubes, these quick oil change centers were only really known to be in existence at that point. This was 1983-ish.
Wow.
And that was that it was really only talked about on the West Coast. Didn't have any on the East Coast. It was, maybe down in Miami.
Right.
I'm not
They weren't
sure
that popular
area.
yet, right?
No, they weren't. It was like how the the Our Photo stores or those kind of concept, or the place where you go in the mom and pop stores that used to rent movies from. Those concept type of things.
Right.
So this was a new concept type of thing, but understanding that they could get an oil change in and out of a building in 10 minutes, but it had to be done the right way. There was a lot of different obstacles there, and but being in the business, there was a lot of things that other people that were possibly in the future going into this type of business that came second to none to me because I was in the industry. And so I knew a lot of the shortcuts. I knew who to speak to. I knew where to get equipment from. I knew a whole bunch of
just
stuff.
Like everything was set up properly for you.
And so I was actually the first fast lube on the entire East Coast that I was aware
That's
about.
insane.
I spoke with companies such as Quaker State or Castrol at the time, and Valvoline also, and none of this was around at all. And so in 1983, I started to make the inquiries, and I remember a dear friend of mine who became a partner with me. He was a silent partner. What took place was he was going to be an investment partner, and I was going to run and operate the businesses. And we split that business a 50-50 proposition.
Right.
And I went about doing that, but getting to meet all the right people in the industry. I set up appointments with Quaker State, because they were a company that would give you the equipment.
Right.
They would do the install.
So it wasn't easy.
So it was a process.
This wasn't easy as let me open a place and
it was a process. You had to find a location. You had to. You're going to buy the property. You're going to rent the property.
Correct.
Which way is best financially going to work for you? Did you want to become a franchise? Did you not want to become a franchise? Did you want to work for a franchise? Did you want to pay royalties?
A lot of decisions, right? Of course.
So, and I said to myself, why do I have to pay somebody in a royalty fee when I know the business?
That I can do myself, right?
Yeah. And so I had concept in my own mind of how I would want it. And plus, my father had come from this industry as well. So he was back in the day when the old service was when you went into a gas station, they checked your tires at one time, they checked all your fluids, they added fluids, they added oil, they checked every fluid under the hood, and if they had a bad fan belt at the time, hey, pull it over to the garage, I'll talk to the mechanic, get it done right away for you. And so they cleaned the rear view mirrors. They cleaned the windshields back then.
Oh, I forgot. Right,
they did all of those things.
Right, that's something we did. We used to. So here's the interesting part. Right, I forgot about that.
Yeah.
And so that's how I started with you because I didn't know how to change an oil. Nothing. I mean, I'm learning, and so I forgot that. So the person on the bottom is changing the oil, is changing the filter. Then you have one person in the front checking all the fluids, and then the guy on the bottom says, "All right, it's closed up, it's ready to go." The guy in the top can pull out, can fill out the put in the oil, and then turn on the car. The guy on the bottom will make sure there's no leaks and whatever. But in the meantime, there's a third person, and the third person will be cleaning your car. I forgot about that part.
Yeah, he vacuum the interior,
vacuuming, cleaning, like doing the windshield,
bringing back the old
services.
Right,
that's crazy.
Cleaning the windows oils and checking
Right.
tire pressures and
Right,
checking
right,
fluid
right.
levels.
So each of us had a job pretty much. That's
And you got to understand how that kind of service was not being done at that time. That was a service that was done in the early 50s and the 40s and maybe in the beginning of the 60s, but it got itself phased out where that service, the service end of the business was gone.
Man.
It wasn't there anymore.
Right.
So
And you
you're
brought it back.
taking an old style service, you're hooking up with the right people,
Team, right.
and you're hoping
And you
that,
minimize the
and
time.
I never realized I never realized that I was never in my mind. I always thought I was going to be a success.
Right, right.
You know, I always went into that business never worrying about, hey, listen, when I opened up that store, you know what I had? $7,000 in my bank account. In business account.
It's got to be something with
to
the
operate.
7,000 because that's exactly.
7 is a magical number.
I was gonna say that because
It
that's
is.
how I opened my business with $7,000 that I took out of my 401k, and they
Yeah.
said you're gonna lose a lot of money in taxes and whatever. I didn't care. I
Yes.
opened my very first business with $7,000.
Yeah,
that's
and
crazy.
It's a magical number, 7. But it's a holy number too. But the point is that I never thought that I was going to be a failure. I always thought positive.
Right.
I never thought negative.
And that's very important,
so,
actually,
yeah,
that you're
you got to
saying
have
that.
that
Yeah.
that drive.
You have to
gotta
have the drive,
the
right?
drive. You got to, and I was hungry for it. I was only 29. I was 29 years
that's
old when I
crazy.
went into my first
Until you
business.
opened up.
Yeah, and we bought the property. It cost, I remember, $125,000. It seems like that's nothing today.
But back in 1983.
But it was in '83,
right,
and it was
that's a lot
right
of
on
money.
just off of Route 59.
Right, right, right.
in
It was
the
an
end.
amazing location, yeah.
So it became an expensive piece of property as time went on. But just the process of finding a piece of property, the days and the nights that we drove around looking for locations, and it wasn't until a good friend of mine that owned a business right on that corner there, which was Model Electronics. You remember that?
Right.
That was the break that happened, and that allowed us to find the property, buy the property. Hook up with everybody, put everything together.
Yeah, no, it was not
get
easy.
it done.
Not that when you put it like that, and all the
there was
terms and
so
all
much.
the things.
My
Now,
cousin,
let me ask you a question, though. And so, clearly you can see it wasn't as easy as some business that you just open up with a couple $1,000 and I'm in business. This took a lot of thinking. This took a lot of planning. This took a lot of investment, obviously. I mean, you're putting all the ingredients together.
Yeah.
And so, for people that right now wants to open a business, okay, so I'll give you my story first. When I go and I invest in a new business or I want to open a new business, the way I sell it to myself, just like you say, when you're young and you had this, where you says, I had no issue that was not gonna work out. That being so positive is what helped you the most. I believe in the same thing. Being positive is the most. You can either find a problem for every solution or a solution for every problem. It depends on how you look at things. But for me, it was almost like nowadays, if I want to invest in a new business, I look at what's going to cost me and if it's going to cost a lot of money. At the end of the day, I'm like, but the greater the risk, the better the greater the
profit.
the profit. And so sometimes I say to myself, if you lose almost everything you got, what do you do then? And when my sons ask me that, Dad, what are you gonna do? I say, I started from zero. That's the beauty of someone that can actually make their own money. It wasn't given by someone. Now one can give me $100,000 and start your martial arts school. Like I started with $7,000, and it was the little bit of money I had saved up in my 401, and I took a risk. So now when I want to open a business, for me, more than taking a risk and understanding that there is a greater risk that I can lose a lot of money, I sell myself with the saying, you make that money, you can make it again. You have knowledge. You have learned a lot of knowledge. You have acquired a lot of
Knowledge is
things.
power.
And so to me, that's what motivates me now. So what would you tell someone right now that says, I only got a little bit of money in the bank, but I think I have this thing that I think in my heart it's what I was born to do, but they're not sure. What advice would you give them? Someone that's watching right now, what would you tell them? Would you tell them go ahead, or would you say wait more? What would you tell them?
Well, I would tell them that there are certain rules that you have to apply, and first of all, one rule is that you're definitely not thinking to the negative. You want to stay positive, what you just said.
Right.
But there's a thing in sales called the 100% rule. And that
What's
was a
that?
key point for me. 100% of the people, 100% of the time, every day, every time, without fail, no exceptions. So no matter what you did in the job facet, that everything that you were supposed to do was done every day, every time, without fail, no exceptions. And that's what makes you a success. It's how hard you want to work to achieve the goal. So if you apply that simple rule of the 100% rule in sales, 100% of the people, 100% of the time, every day, every time, without fail, no exceptions.
Right.
If you apply that to what you were talking about in the beginning of this
Correct.
podcast was, understanding and respecting to force forward in the goals that you set and taking on responsibility. It's all of that combined into that one rule. And if you do
Very
that,
interesting.
if you follow those steps, you can't not be anything but a success.
Right.
Because you're giving your heart to it, you're giving all your emotions to it, you believe in the business that you're doing,
Right.
and that is an accomplishment in itself.
Which is amazing
You know,
because I think exactly what you're saying. The one thing I tell my sons is, and I learned this from somebody by the name of Gary V. I'm sure some of you guys hear from him or listen to him in YouTube. And the one thing that he says is very similar to what Kenny's saying. One is obviously believing in what you're doing. Two, giving the 100% of what you believe. If you believe that this is the call for you, well, obviously you're going to give it 100% because you believe in it. But then he says something really cool where he says, guys, you can do something that you may not be so good at it. Like most of us, when we first opened the business, you had to figure out how to put the teams together. I had to first become a black belt and start doing all the things and start learning how to teach people that didn't know martial arts the way I did. And, so we all have to go through a process. And his philosophy is very simple. You can pick something that you definitely completely love. And even if you suck at it now, he says, when you do something for 5 to 10 years, you get good at it. It's almost like it's inevitable not to become good at that if you truly care for what you're doing and you put in the time, And so, all right. So that's an amazing advice. I think for the people that are out there that actually think they can open a business, not sure. The one thing that I can tell you, and again, from coming from my background that you heard a little bit of Kenny talking about, someone that came that didn't have that I think in my family, I don't even remember anybody that ever owned a business. I'm not going to say maybe I'm the only one in my family that ever owned a business, but that I know of, I think so. But all I can tell you guys is for the people that are not too sure, that are not, the one thing I can tell you is don't listen to anyone else. Because you're going to find a lot of people that will support you and a lot of people are going to be against you, and you are where? In the same place. So you got to follow your dreams. If your dream is telling you to do this, I'd rather do something and fail miserably in my face, but at least I can say to you, I did it, I tried, than living in between and one day in the future or in the far future from now, look back and say, I wish I would have had the balls, seriously, to have done it.
You're
Because
absolutely correct.
Right?
Absolutely, because I had people when I was going into this business, I had people that laughed at me. Laughed. They said
It's a
they
new
said,
concept.
"No way you're going to be a success," because their mindset was what they were used to, the type of repair shops that they had, and when they saw the lines that were there, I mean, we had lines all the way
Dude, you
out
don't
to
have to
Route
tell me.
59.
Yes, you don't have to tell me. I was out there.
I was doing 800 oil changes a week.
Oh my God. Insane. I'm telling you, you had an amazing business.
It was a great
I mean, when
concept.
you ran that was
And
incredible.
it's like anything else. It flooded the market after
Oh,
a
of course.
while.
Then everybody else start coming with their own,
It
and of
does
course.
after 10
But
years
that
or
happens with
so.
everybody. Yes, yes.
And that's and you got to be on that ride of getting in a business on the bottom floor and making it a successful business.
Right.
And
For as long as it
it
lasts,
takes
right?
that 10-year
Right,
period.
right.
You get a good 10-year stretch out of business.
And some businesses
some
nowadays die a lot sooner.
No,
Let's say if you
yeah.
create, I'm not saying this cop, but if you create something new in the market, all we need to hear is China heard about it. And they'll have another one in 2 weeks. You know what I mean? So all I'm saying to you is you do have a short period of time that when you create something new or semi-new, you have a very short period of time to like make your money.
It's a small window.
And it's going to die out. And then you have to use that money to do something different. Some people are in business that have been around for 150 years. I mean, Home Depot, I was listening to the story of Home Depot, how Home Depot started, whatever. That's a company that's going to be here for another 200 years. It's a different company. But a lot of companies in general, they die out pretty easy. In his case, about 10 years.
I was on the ground level. I was in a business that
you started it.
I just hit that. That was like,
And
that
only
10 minute of fame that you
Right,
could have,
right.
that little bit of fame that you do have in life.
And then that's it, right? But
Yeah,
it dies
that's
out.
and you just go on from there, and you learn from business sense what is right, what is wrong,
Right,
and
right,
you
right.
learn about people in general, and
Yeah.
and you do listen. You meet a lot of crazy type of people along the way, but
Yeah.
you have to be
It all
smart enough to
enhances
weed
who you
itself
are.
out. Yeah, yeah.
We're gonna switch the topic again one more time, guys. So we talked about business, great advice, amazing advice, really being 100% on the things that you do. Let's talk about the book. So we have a book, he just wrote. So this book is actually fresh, guys. As a matter of fact, we did a pre-order, so we don't have the book yet, but we have some copies here. This is like a little copy of the book, and right now all of us that purchased the book, and he sold quite a lot so far, we are just waiting for the moment when they release it to us. And so the name of the book is Just a Kid from the Bronx. So his first book, we're going to talk about a couple more books he's got coming up. Let's talk about this book because this book is ready. People can actually buy it now. And once again, just click the link below on this video and you'll be able to see the link where you can just click there, go straight into Amazon and buy the book because it's going to be amazing. So tell us a little bit about the book. Obviously, don't give us the whole book because we want to read it as well. But tell us about the book. What made you write it? What's in the book?
Yeah, well, first of all, it's a true story. And the title that I picked for this was
yes.
Just a Kid from the Bronx, and it was the DA because that's the way we talked back then, the Bronx. And it's where my story begins.
Right.
And that's the part of the title. And then at the bottom, you'll see that it says, with maybe a little exaggeration.
Right. I love that part. When you read the book, it's like,
Because
maybe
first
a little
of all,
bit of exaggeration.
no matter who writes a book, there's
right.
always that little, the exaggeration. There's no question about it.
Yes.
But it's a true story, and it stemmed from when I was 9 years old. And it is a story that it can really be a great book for parents to read to their children, for their children to read.
What's the book about?
It's about baseball. It's
So
about
this is when you were 9.
When I was 9 years old, and it's a true story about about baseball. Back then, baseball was America's favorite pastime.
Right.
And so it's a story about the Little League and about my cousin and what happened and how it led to other things but you don't really find out what the real true essence of the story is until the end. And I think that's what makes a good book so good. It's about
you build it.
You want to keep reading.
Right. You build
if you
go
directly to the back of the book, then what's the point in buying
you miss the whole
it's
whole
about
story.
the adventure to get there. I'm a big believer in the more I do investigation about writing, and is that a good story holds anywhere between 12 to 15 chapters most.
Right.
And maybe 32,000, 33,000 words, or so on and so forth.
Right.
But a good, strong book with an idea and a thought, and you've got to start with that first. You got to have that idea, the thought, and being that this involved a number of people that were very important in my lifetime. It was a story I wanted to get out that I always talked about writing about.
Right.
And so it stems from baseball.
Right.
And it's a great story, like I say, for the father to read to the son, or the father to read to the son and the daughter, or them to read by themselves. Or, I'm hoping to get this in schools and as curriculum to read, and a lot of different avenues like that. But
it's amazing.
And they've got I plan on writing a good number of other subjects,
which is amazing, guys. So
we're
going to talk about that as well.
This is my baby right now.
This is the baby. This is the starter.
Yeah.
This is the first one.
Yeah.
And I'm actually excited. I cannot wait to get my hard copy, by the way.
Yeah, and I hope you enjoy it when you read.
We have another couple of books you got coming up, right? So we talked about them actually, and you definitely will be back here because I want to talk about them. So
yes.
On the next one, we don't have to talk about our story anymore. So we can just go straight.
Well, maybe we will a little bit.
Well, we always got more stories to tell you because there's a lot more to tell you.
Well, because I think you came from a similar background, and it focuses on my next book that I'm writing,
Right.
and that book is going to be called "Divorce Sucks."
So the next book is called Divorce Sucks
For all the children.
for all the children.
Mm.
And the problem is sometimes we think about us, the adults, the people getting divorced, and we don't get along anymore, blah blah blah, whatever. But a lot of times, even though we think about the children, we can be in the children's position or how they feel, because it's not you who's happening to, unless we came from a divorced family as well.
Right.
And so I'm actually gonna be in that book, even though my parents were in divorce. Just think about what I said to you guys in the beginning. My dad left Colombia when I was 10 months old. I didn't get to meet and really live with him for 2 years until I was 15 and almost 16, so 16 to 18. And my mom and my dad really didn't have like that crazy relationship. I mean, think about it. He's here all year round, and he has 1 month to go to Colombia. And, it was almost like being divorced. I mean, some people actually come from divorced families and they see the parents more than I saw mine. So I have a lot of good stories to tell them that. So I think I'm going to be in the book. And the one thing that I told Kenny, don't change my name. I don't mind telling my story, and you can use my name. You don't have to like give me a fictitious name. And because I want people to realize that he's getting all these stories from real people. It's
Yeah.
not something he's making up. So
Yeah.
that's the next book. So that's coming after this book. Are you
Yes.
working on it already? Or
I am working on it.
He's working
already.
on it.
I'm into like the 10th chapter right now. But yes, I want to continue our conversations with that, because yes, you are going to be in the book. And it's from my personal experience, it's about really it stemmed from the hurt that I went through.
You came from divorced
Yeah,
parents.
when I was 9,
Right.
same time of this happening, but it was my parents got divorced, and what was the hardest thing for me to go through
Right.
was what I was feeling, and my father didn't seem to really care or about that, what my feelings were, in the way he left me, and it's about how he left me, and where it went from
From that point
from
forward.
that point on.
Honestly,
And so my heart goes out to the children that
Divorced
go
parents.
through a divorced
Yeah.
situation
yeah, of course.
with their parents, because they just don't understand, I don't think, what the child is going through.
Correct.
Because at the time, the parents are upset about things,
Right. I
and
mean,
they're
clearly they're
fighting
gonna
with
divorce
each
for a
other,
reason. So
and the kid kind of feels like he's being put on the shelf,
Right.
or even some kids stated they think it's their own fault. But
Right, right.
but there's so many interviews that I've done with this, and it's still always the same thing. They want to just an understanding, And so
I
I'm
think
doing that book.
honestly, I think
Yeah.
that's gonna be another amazing book.
Yeah, I hope
I
so.
really think so. I think a lot of people,
Hopefully, it gets the
especially people that are
message.
going through some messages and whatever, maybe there is a better way to do it. I
Yeah.
get it. Sometimes people were not born to be together for the rest of their lives.
Sometimes divorce
I
happens.
believe from the few relationships that I went through,
It's a
every
necessary.
person that you meet at one point in your life, you feel like this is it, right?
Yeah.
I think all of us, I don't, men and women, I think you meet somebody, you say, this is it. This is the person I want to die with. And eventually things, unfortunately, doesn't work out like that. But I think there could be maybe better ways to do certain things where the kids don't get as affected as a lot of kids did, like us, right? In a
Mhm.
certain way. So that definitely is going to be an amazing book as well. And then you have another book after that, right?
Yeah, we get 2 more books that I'm working that I'm in thoughts about working on, and one is something that you and I have talked about, which is what men go through when they do get divorced
Divorce,
from their
separated or
wives,
something, yeah.
and what they go through as the
Being males.
yeah,
Yeah.
being a male, and being the third person out, and
Right.
and what goes on with their lives.
Well, the reason why we talked about this is because, I mean, I'm sure if you're old like us at one point, you had to go through a breakup, right? And so the reason why, one of the things that I discussed, and I don't want to say much because that's going to be for that book as well.
Mhm.
And I guess you go through a breakup and it can hurt a year or two, depending, some
Yeah.
breakups you never heal from.
Mm.
Some breakups it takes a year, some breakups take 6 months, and some breakups takes 2 months, and you're back to normal. And so one of the things that a lot of my friends ask me, and that's coming up, how is it that, let's say on my last breakup, how is it that I was so broken, so I was devastated, and how a couple months later I'm back to normal? What did I do? And the reason why Kenny decided to write this book is because we both thought about it and say, you know what? When a girl breaks up or gets divorced or separates or whatever happens, women have this amazing power. And I'm going to say to you guys, you have this amazing power that you're not shy about it. You go and you tell your best friend, you go and tell your family, you go, like the world knows about it. And the world not that sympathizes with you, but the world understands you better. Men have this fucking pride that we don't want to say either somebody cheated on us or whatever happened to you. We are too embarrassed to go and tell another guy, yeah, she cheated on me, because we all think that we are like the shit, right? So we don't want to say that our girl was cheating with somebody else, because now you're not the shit anymore. And so that's the first thing that I think we're afraid to say, like, whatever. And so we leave things alone and we're dealing with our own problems quietly. And it takes a long time for us to actually open up. So I feel like the difference, I think, between men and women is that women can liberate themselves from that very quickly. I do know one thing, and that's one thing that I was able to find through searching and reading and finding a few books, because this is why he's writing the book, because there's not enough books to tell men about how to heal from that process. And this is not to trash women, because in any way, shape, or form is what we're doing. We want to just say, we're going to talk to the guys and say, you should do this when you go through such a difficult time, because some of those times could be difficult.
Yeah, and also, man is usually it's the last person that knows about it. Like when you said all the friends know and the family knows and all that. You're usually, if you become naive in that situation, which most men become, you're usually the last person that finds out about it. Meanwhile, you find out that everybody else
Already
knew
knew that
about
you
this.
right.
But
Yeah.
the whole point is really what the man goes through emotionally.
Right.
He's going to, he's going to pay rent. He's going to,
right.
he's got to still take care of the household. If he's got children are involved. And so there's a lot going on in the man's mind.
Right.
And what they're going to, and a lot of the times as men, what we tend to do is we tend to gravitate towards the woman's friends. And so you wind up with more friends.
More problems.
No, but you wind up with more friends going out with them, out to dinner together and so on. And you kind of tend to, the people that you grew up with, kind of put them off on the back burner somewhat.
Yeah.
But a lot of men do this.
Right.
And so you wind up becoming more in acquaintance with those type of
Correct.
people. And then when, God forbid, that happens in your lifetime, you turn around, you've got no friends.
nobody.
All your friends are gone.
Yeah.
And so what do you do?
And I think honestly, most guys do that.
Yeah, and
I do
yeah.
believe that. I don't
Yeah.
know, for some reason guys do that, right? You could have a group of good friends and you meet somebody new, and you're right. You start meeting that person's friends and you want to like be not acceptable, but you want to know them. And then in that process, you're right. Your friends and the friends that you have for a long time, it's almost like you push them a little bit to the side. And so I do agree with that. And by the time, God forbid, something happens here, you got nobody. And so it's very difficult. But so I'm excited for that book as well. So he's got a couple of nice books coming up, guys.
Yeah.
So
and then
please
the
get
last
excited.
one that Al that just to touch base is another story, and it's a true story. The third book that I'm looking about writing in my own mind now is a true story about me with a woman that I first met as a teenager, to dating together. I was supposed to marry her, and what happened in our lifetime. And it's a love story that becomes an emotional roller coaster, and the ending is a sad ending, but it's interesting.
Very interesting. He's got some amazing books coming out, guys. So it's not, like I say, it's not because it's Kenny, he's like a father to me. No, I think the books that he's got coming up are amazing. And I think every single one of us should learn a lot from them. So one thing, this is the end for now, because like I say, he's got a lot of books coming up. So he's definitely going to be coming back here quite a lot.
Yeah.
And so the one thing that I ask everybody that I interview, and obviously this is not the last time I'm interviewing you, but I'm gonna do it as if it was. Let's pretend you're never coming back to the studio anymore. What would you like to be remembered as? The day that day ends, and that's it. Whether it just ends. What would you want the people that love you to think of you, to think about your life, that legacy that we always want to leave? And talk to me. What would you want to be remembered as?
Well, I think on some of the things that we touched about here, that is that I think I'd like to be remembered as a person that cared, that wanted to see people achieve their goals, to teach them what I knew about that, and how to make them a better person, to make them understand also that while earning is a great way to have a great life,
Correct.
it's not the best way. The best way is to teach, and I want to be believed to be the type of person that I made a difference in that person's life.
Well,
And
you
I
did
think
with
this,
me.
yeah, it's so
So
important
I
to
can tell you,
me.
he
You
definitely
know,
did with my
the
life.
love is involved. There's a
Right.
lot of love, and that that's the essence of life. And I would like to be remembered that I was that type of a person, that I focused more on caring and love, and in between had some success in the finance end of the world.
That's amazing, dude.
But it's I think that if every person can attribute some part of their life to helping somebody
Of
else,
course.
the reward is so much greater.
So much greater, right?
Mm.
I agree.
And I want that legacy to be etched in
Continue.
stone. He was a man that cared.
That's amazing, dude.
Mm.
Very important. All right, guys. Well, that's it for us today. We will talk to you guys soon. Kenny,
Thank you.
I love you,
Thank you for
brother.
your time. I
My
appreciate
pleasure,
it.
brother. I love you
Yeah.
so much, bro. Thank you.
Yes, no problem, man. Thank you.
Thank you for watching or listening to my power talk. Hopefully you didn't get hurt too much. Until next time, see ya.